What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm talking about my story, and it's really a story about a lot of the challenges and insecurities that I overcame into like who I am now. And again, I don't think this is like the craziest story of all time. It's just my own experience, and I just wanted to hopefully make this video one so you can get to know me a little better, and then two, the main reason is hopefully you can learn from it and it'll make your life better. And yeah, if y'all are new here, my name is Justin Block. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an investor. I recently was a part of my family's business, which I helped build and sell, and we sold it for the second time earlier this year at the time of making this video. And yeah, let's get into my story because, again, for the most of my life, I didn't really enjoy myself. I didn't really like myself. And yeah, like any insecurity in the book, you name it, I probably struggled with it. Anxiety, overthinking, depression, self-doubt, like lack of self-confidence, shit, like all that kind of stuff. And who I am now is I would say it's a very different person. I don't know if I would describe it as that, but like I do enjoy my life a lot more now versus most of my life. And I think some of the lessons that I've learned here hopefully will help you guys. And so yeah, that's what I really want to get across in this video. It's not really about me, but this is just my own experience and what I went through and to become who I am now. And at the time of this video, I just turned 30, so I'm still relatively young. And I still have a lot more to learn, but this is just my story until then. And I'm not going to get super specific with a ton of things, just out of respect for my family who don't like want to be talked about and stuff, but I will share as much as I feel like I can. And so yeah, let's just get into it. So again, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. A lot of entrepreneurs in my family, from my ancestors to my parents. And so it wasn't the easiest thing growing up. Like I knew from a young age I wanted to be in business. But like growing up, again, like family life wasn't the smoothest. I think like most families probably, like we all have shit we go through. But home life wasn't the most fun for me a lot of the time. And then when I went to school, it wasn't fun because I really hated school. I probably hated school the most out of everything. So like I would come home, and then some days were good, some days weren't. But I would come home, wasn't having the most fun, just with some things that my parents were going through or like me and my brother were going through. And then I would go to school from a young age, and I would just felt like I never fit in. And I wasn't really bullied as a kid, but I guess I was bullied. I don't know, I don't remember, but I definitely had a little bit, maybe some enemies back in the day. And not that it lasted a long time, but that affected me for sure when I was a kid. I do remember when I was in like elementary school, my dad came in for show and tell. Like we had all the parents come in, and he was explaining our family business. And I remember he came in, explained what he did, what we did, and he came in with these little cows and these little frisbees that we used to give away way back in the day. And I was like 6 years old, right? And we all went out to the playground after, and we all undid our frisbees and were throwing them around. And I remember on that day, I was like, "This is gonna be me. I'm gonna be the business guy. Like I want to be doing this like with my kids one day." And I was 6, and from that point on, like I just knew what I wanted to do. So that was a cool moment for me. But yeah, just like growing up, I struggled a good bit. When I was 12 years old, my aunt passed away, and I was really close with her. And I don't even know why I'm mentioning this too, but like she used to eat these little Coca-Cola gummies. I don't know if y'all have ever seen those, but I used to love those too. And like now I never eat them because this reminds me of her. And I'm sure she'd want me to eat the gummies just because they're so delicious. But she passed away when I was 12, and I remember I just wasn't feeling that well. I was sad. I was a kid, right? And I remember my parents took me to therapy. Again, I grew up in Florida, so I went to this guy who used to play for the Jaguars. I forget, I think he was like an ex-quarterback or something, backup quarterback, became a therapist. And we were throwing the football one day outside, and my mom comes and picks me up. And I remember just hearing him and my mom talk, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, your son's depressed." And that sort of stuck with me for a little bit. And subconsciously, I think it was more subconscious than like I was consciously aware of it, because again, I was 12. But that sort of hit me too. And like I think I was just sad looking back for sure. And yeah, so that happened to me, and that was another moment in my life where it wasn't the most fun. And then I went through school, still not enjoying a lot of things, like still struggling to like find myself a little bit. And again, I played sports and had a good life. Like again, nothing was really wrong, but I just never really enjoyed school. And you're gonna hear me say this a million times, but never really enjoyed school. And as time went on through middle school, through high school, I just didn't really apply myself. I was playing sports, I was having fun with some friends. Again, wasn't the most popular kid, wasn't like the least popular kid, but like again, still got into some stuff in school where like I didn't like some people, they didn't like me, like that affected me. And again, not like school was the worst thing in the world, but I just didn't apply myself because I didn't enjoy it, right? And so fast forwarding to high school now, I didn't really apply myself, like I said, so I didn't get into many colleges. And I ended up getting into the University of Alabama, which I already am not really thrilled with. And so I ended up going there. And I don't like it at all, really. And I'm like, I don't even want to be here. I'm just telling myself all the time, like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. So what do you think is reinforced in my head? Like, I don't want to be here. But I gave it my best shot in like the first few weeks. I only end up lasting a semester. So I go out and I meet some friends, rush the fraternities, all that kind of stuff, and get some bids. And I end up turning them all down because I just don't feel like it's a fit for me. And the rest of the time there was just like going to class, going back to my dorm room, maybe hanging out with some friends, but I was miserable. I think environmentally I was depressed. Again, just didn't enjoy school. Was always calling my parents saying, I want to leave, I want to leave, I want to leave. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I don't want to be here. And I felt like I needed to get out. I felt like I was in a cage. And so I would fly home a good bit from Tuscaloosa back home. And I knew I wanted to be closer to home in Florida. So I told my parents, like, hey, I'm going to do this for a semester, then I'm gone. So I remember my mom came and got me. We drove back after the semester, and I ended up transferring to a college, a community college in Gainesville, Florida, because I wanted to go to the University of Florida. I was like, if I'm going to go to school, I'm going to go to the school that I want to graduate from, right? And I did end up graduating from there, but it wasn't easy for me. And this is something I guess I forgot to mention too. Throughout school, like I struggle with slight dyslexia. I still do to this day. So like learning and stuff was a little bit of a challenge for me. And like sitting down for like 8 hours a day, just like super still, like made me hate learning and hate reading, which is like the complete opposite now. And I'll talk about that a little later. So I can end up transferring to Santa Fe College is the name of the school. And I'm like still not enjoying it. I end up moving with 2 buddies from high school. So that's sort of fun, but still, again, probably not the best environment for me. I'm still sort of miserable. And I'm just like, again, I have a victim mindset. That's pretty much what it is. And I'm in class and I'm just like, shit, like I don't want to do this. Like I just want to get this over with. Like school's so boring to me. I'm not learning anything. I'm not learning from people who have actually like done what I want to do. This doesn't make any sense. And I'm in and out of things. And like towards the end of the semester, I remember I'm getting out of class one day. I'm walking in my car. It's like 100 yards outside the school. And I'm opening my door and I get a call from my dad. I answer the phone and he tells me that my grandfather passes away. And my grandfather was someone I looked up to my whole life. He was an entrepreneur himself. Again, wasn't the perfect man, but when I was a really young kid, he was someone I really looked up to. And as he got older, he eventually had a form of dementia, and so he ended up being in a wheelchair, and he needed someone to take care of him. But as I got older, like whenever I was around him, I just felt really good. And I don't know, I can't explain it to this day. I think like telepathically we were like communicating a little bit or something. But whenever I was around him, he would like look at me and smile, and he would just tell me. I felt like he would tell me like, "Hey, Justin, you're gonna do something great with your life." And whenever I was around him, I felt like he was really the first person to like. It felt like he actually really believed in me, even though he wasn't saying anything. Like he literally was in a wheelchair and wasn't saying anything. But I looked up to him a lot, and he wasn't the perfect man. And yeah, it's that day really hurt me when it was probably one of the worst days of my life because I already wasn't enjoying school, and then he passed away. Like again, one of my heroes. And I remember just like hearing that from my dad sobbing, and I was like, I never heard my dad cry before. Like, what's going on here? And then he tells me the news. So that sucked. And then I remember driving home that day, going back home and like getting back home, and I had this little iPod in my room, and I threw it against the wall because I was so pissed off. And I just remember that time being really tough. Again, I was young, and my grandfather was an idol, and I didn't know how to handle it. Like I had my aunt pass away when I was younger, now this, and I just felt like a victim, and I was thinking about why me. And again, I didn't equip myself. I didn't have the tools to get through that. Looking back, and yeah, so that was tough, and then that made school a lot harder because I was thinking about my grandfather a lot, and so I ended up fast forwarding a little bit, taking some time off school. I went back home. Ended up volunteering at a food pantry and a food bank where my family actually is involved with pretty heavily, and that actually helped me a lot because I wasn't thinking about me. I was thinking about other people. I was helping a lot of people who look just like me. If you haven't volunteered in any sort of capacity or a food bank, I would highly recommend it. And yeah, so I did that, and it made me feel really good. I was like, life felt a lot more meaningful. Like I wasn't thinking about me so much. I was out of my own stuff, out of my own way, and I was helping people. And I was like, this is really cool. This is awesome. I got to learn so much about nonprofits and how they work. And even though they're not after being in business, they don't run themselves that well. But it was a good experience for me. And I was like, all right, I feel good enough to go back to school to finish this thing out. And I ended up going back to Gainesville, got my own apartment. And, one of my best friends was living in Gainesville at the time too, at Florida. And so I hung out with him a lot, which actually sort of saved me a lot of the times. Like I didn't know really a bunch of people down there. I had a few friends, but again, like I didn't have the most friends back in the day. So, my best friend there, like that was like one of the reasons I also wanted to go there too, because he and I were really close, and like it helped that I got to meet him and hang out with him and his friends, and so did that for a year. Still struggled in school, didn't want to be there, went home a good bit, and like I just knew like, hey, if I can power through and get into Florida, like my life would be good again, right? And so it's like fast forwarding a little bit again. I get through this last year, still not enjoying it for the most part. I'm like, I got this last statistics class, I think it is, and I need like a B minus to get in. And so I did my application to Florida. I ended up getting in, but I need the B minus to like actually get in. And I remember the semester's over. I'm back home. I'm waiting for this test grade, and I get the email one day, and it's like, congratulations, you got in. And like this huge weight is off my shoulders. I'm like, I got into Florida. Like I can start my life now, which is like what I was telling myself. So that was fun. That was a good day. And then ended up, again, fast forwarding, like throughout summers, I was working odd jobs and stuff in restaurants, working for the biz, all that kind of stuff. So that doesn't really matter here. But still within myself, like I think I was a very unconscious person, and still like sort of just like letting life happen to me and not for me. I was just like a sort of a bag in the wind looking back. And yeah, so I ended up going to Florida, getting in there, and that was cool. I ended up rushing a fraternity, which my best friend was the president of at the time, so that sort of helped me get in. And I rushed as a junior, so that was sort of weird. It was fun looking back. But yeah, that was a unique experience, and I had a lot of fun at Florida. I was, hanging out with more people. I was going to parties, going out, like meeting girls. I was having fun, right? And I was going to class. I still didn't enjoy the class part, but like, again, fast forwarding a little bit more now, life was better. I was feeling a little bit better about myself, but I still wasn't like, loving life, I guess. But I fast forwarding to like my senior year, I was sick and tired of school. I was like, dude, I want to get out of here. So like halfway through my senior year, I was living in the fraternity. I was just so over it, and I just wanted it to be over, right? So when graduation day came, I'm in the O Dome with 6,000 other students, and I'm like, I don't know any of these people. They don't care about me. I don't care about them. I only got one of my buddies to my left who I went to school with. He was in my fraternity, so I'm like, I'm gonna say goodbye to him. I'm gonna walk across the stage, and I'm getting out of here. And you're supposed to walk across the stage and go sit back down, right? And so I walk across the stage, do a little gator chomp, and I walk through the tunnel where the basketball players, go through. And there's cops everywhere throughout the stadium. And I'm thinking, like, I'm so excited. I'm like, this is one of the best days of my life. I'm getting out of here. I just graduated. I'm done with school, right? And so these cops are like, dude, what are you doing? I'm just like, hey, I got to get out of here. And they're like, you can't leave. You can't leave. And I forget what I told them, but I ended up getting my way out of there. I called my parents. I'm like, hey, I'm outside. And they're just like, I thought I saw you sit back down. I'm like, no, I'm outside. Let's get the hell out of here. So they come outside. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I want to leave. You guys know how much I don't want to be here. I want to leave. And I'm like, I just saved you guys like 6 hours of your day. Let's go home. And so that was one of the best days of my life. I still graduated in college because college was so challenging for me. And still, like, to this day, I'm not the biggest fan of school. And that's a topic for another time. But it was hard. It was really hard for me, honestly. Like, that was most of my life, honestly. School, like, made me feel like an idiot, like, for the most part. Like, I was not good at testing. I wasn't good at memorizing stuff. I had to work really hard just to, like, survive in school. And it made me feel bad about myself because I thought I was dumb, which I don't think is the case anymore. Again, I'm not the smartest, I'm not the biggest, I'm not the strongest, but I feel like I can do a lot more things being outside of school than when I was in school. And then prior to graduating, about a week before I graduated, I was looking for jobs. I was thinking about starting my own business. My dad came to me and was like, hey, do you want to come work for the family business? Which was never really the intention. The intention was if I wanted to come in, I would go outside, get some experience, and come in. And so I said, sure, let's do it. And so I knew I was going to come work, and I told him, I was like, hey, I want to come in right immediately. I want to take a week off, and I'm in. And he's like, no, like, take a few months off. Like, you deserve it. I'm just like, I don't want to take more time off. I want to work. I want to learn. And so we ended up meeting in the middle. I took a month off. That was my summer break, and I went right into school, right into work. Basically worked my way from the bottom to I don't want to say to the top, but like worked my way from the bottom to help running our sales team, to help operating the business by the time we sold it for the second time, which is fast forwarding a lot. But that was a cool experience for me. And so this is where my life sort of starts to change for the better. Again, I'll do my best to condense this as much as I can. But I'm like working in the business 6 a.m. to like 6 p.m. every day. I'm getting my butt kicked. It's awesome. And then like 6 months down the line, I get this message from a business group I'm in from this guy, one of my best friends now, who's like, hey, I'm in Jacksonville. Like, is anyone here? And this never happens. Like, no one ever says like, hey, I'm in Jacksonville. So I meet up with him. We're best friends now to this day, but we meet up and, we become friends. And then about 2 months later, there's this event that I see online in the same group. And I'm like, I text my buddy, and I'm like, hey, dude, are you going to this thing? And he's like, yeah, like, I'm actually speaking. You should come. And it's like a week away, this event. So I'm like, it's probably sold out. So I call up. They say, hey, someone just dropped out. You can get the last ticket. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm in. Right, so I fly out with my buddy there. My other friend, one of my other best friends, actually, at the time, he was the one who hosted the event. So, like, shout out to him. But I go to this event not knowing what to expect. And the whole weekend was just about business, family, health, getting to know yourself a little bit more. It was awesome. And so basically, like, in the first few hours of the event, you sit down at this table with a bunch of people. It's about 150 people in the room. You're at a table with like 10, 12 people that you don't know, you just met. We're all around the same age, right? And we go around and they all ask us like to say, what's the worst moment of your life, right? So I'm like, what am I doing? I'm telling all these people the worst moment of my life. I just met all these people. What the hell? And so we go around the table. I tell the story about my grandfather and being in college and not liking school, and everyone tells their story. And so the whole weekend was like breaking you down, building you back up type of thing. And so I left that weekend feeling like, what the hell did I just do? And then also feeling amazing, like such a relief off my shoulders. I was like, that was so cool. It was this weird dichotomy of emotions. And I was like, I want more of this in my life. I want to be more vulnerable with people. I want to be more open with people. This is what real life is actually about. And so this is right before COVID hits. And so I meet my buddy who put on the event. I have my other friend from back home. I'm back home. And again, a few months go by and then COVID hits, right? And so the world's sort of shutting down. And so we make this group text and we're saying like, hey, one of my friends is like, do you guys want to do this Mindvalley course? I'm like, what's Mindvalley? It's like, oh, this is a personal development course. Like, it's like 30 days. We'll all do it together. It's awesome. And so I don't remember what exactly was in the course. And that was the only Mindvalley course I did, but I was hooked. I loved it. We had this journal. We were doing the course online every day. We were learning about our values and all this kind of stuff. And that's what got me hooked on personal development. And I was like, all right, the world shut down. I'm not letting the world beat me up anymore. I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And I think that's where my life started really, really changed, where I was just like 110% responsibility for everything. We were in the food business, so our business was just tanking. At the peak of COVID, we were down 85% just like that, which sucked. So it was this whole learning experience, just like everything being thrown at me, but I felt like I could handle it for the first time in my life, which was really, really weird. But looking back, it was awesome. Like, I'm super glad I made that decision. But it basically came from a lot of pain and just being sick and tired of like feeling like shit, honestly. And so in that moment, I took this course and I was like, what else is out there, right? And so you can see all these books behind me. These are just like not even a third of my books, but I got into Tony Robbins. I got into Ed Milet. I got into Andy Frisella, all of the personal development stuff, Jim Rohn, you name it, Wayne Dyer, all of the stuff. I was hooked. I was like, I'm still obsessed with this stuff to this day. And I was like, for the first time in my life, I felt like capable. I was like, this is like, why didn't they teach me this stuff in school? Like, this is actually like helping me so much. And the thing about the personal development industry, it's weird because like, I'm so glad it exists, but it's like it keeps growing and growing because people are struggling out there. And so it's just weird, ironic thing. But especially since COVID happened, like nowadays people are more depressed, more anxious than ever. And the reason I'm even telling the story is because I was that person, and I want to give back and help people to show them like, hey, it is possible to overcome this stuff. And in this, I don't want to make this about me. It's just telling you guys like, hey, like I was that kid. I was that guy who was, he was depressed. He was anxious. He didn't have any confidence. He didn't know himself to like becoming the guy and man I am today, who is very confident in himself and knows what he wants out of life. It was a lot of work. Like the work you do on yourself is the most important work you're going to do in your life. And it is hard work because you're physically rewiring your brain. You're changing the way you think. Everything about your life sort of changes. You got to, sort of take a step back and holistically look at your life. It's a lot of work. And so in that moment, I was like a fiend. So my day was, during COVID, it was work, do the personal development stuff, and maybe go to the gym. And, I was moving around a bit. I wasn't living with my parents. Eventually, my dad was like, hey, come work out of the house with me. So I was doing that for a little bit. And, again, the world was shut down. It was sort of crazy. And, again, we were in the food business, so it's not like we can go actively sell and get new customers when everyone's just trying to survive, right? And so that was really tough for us, but ended up doing a lot of great things. We were building a new building at the time, pushed pause on that. We didn't fire anyone. Ended up having our best year after that, best year ever after that. So things worked out for us in the long run, but it was scary. I'm not going to lie. But all of that personal development work I was doing was just, it felt like it kept fueling me in the best way. And so that was just like the moment when my life really, really changed, right? I was listening to all the podcasts, YouTube videos. Every second I wasn't hanging out with a friend or hanging out with someone, like I was hanging out with like Tony Robbins in a video. I was hanging out with Ed Milet in a video. I was hanging out with Andy Frisella on his podcast. I was hanging out with all these guys, and I would listen to them. I kept feeding my mind every day, and it was awesome. And I still do that to this day. Like literally, if I'm chilling and I'm just like, hey, I want to do this, like I'm listening to like some of these guys. Like I'm programming myself all the time with just like stuff that lifts me up and inspires me, and that I can learn from. And so again, got really hooked on that kind of stuff. And then, as time went on, was working in the business, worked my way up, things eventually started opening up. And that's just sort of how I got to where I'm at today. And, throughout this time too, like a few years ago, I got introduced to Tony Robbins, and through no effort of my own, just like I was at an event and met someone who was like, "Do you know who Tony Robbins is?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I love Tony Robbins." And he ends up introducing me to his team on one of his foundations, the 100 Billion Meals Challenge, which I now get to be a part of, which is absolutely amazing, like basically solving world hunger. So that was really cool. And I get to work with Ed Milet now. He's my actual coach in person, which is the craziest thing ever. And it's weird how all these things came together for me. And like, I'm not saying this to brag in any sense of the way. I'm just showing you guys like you can go from, and again, not like my life was bad externally. Like I was very fortunate. I still worked hard, and like I made some good money, and I was working hard for myself too. But like I'm just saying this story to like show you like I did not like none of the external stuff really like. I think once you're financially secure for the most part, like if you don't have to worry about bills and you're not stressed out, like nothing else is going to make you feel that great about yourself besides like doing the work on yourself. And that's really my point of this whole thing. It's like, I'm sure you guys all know of someone who's very successful financially and they've killed themselves, so they're miserable people. Like this stuff really, they walk among us. Like it exists for a reason, or not for a reason. That's not what I meant. It exists out there. Like people are, you can accomplish all the stuff. You can have all the things. You can have the family. You can have it all. But if you don't like yourself, like you don't know yourself. You haven't done the work on yourself. And this is where I want to like sort of wrap up this video here, like get towards the end. Is just like one of my mentors a long time ago told me the worst thing in life is growing old and realize you got good at the wrong thing. And I think so many of us throughout life, right? We go to school, we do what our parents tell us to do, we do what society tells us to do, and we don't really know who we are. And we wake up one day and we're doing stuff we hate, or we're just comfortable enough to where we don't want to change because we're scared for whatever reason, right? There's so many nuances to this stuff. But then we grow old and we realize like I didn't really enjoy my life. And even if you're 25 years old, I know a lot of my friends who don't enjoy their life. Like they constantly complain about their work or their significant other, their whatever that is, right? And they just accept that as normal. And for me, I was that person too one day until I woke up and I was like, I do not want to do this anymore. It was just so painful. And I don't think you got to go through that pain. Maybe unless you're older, like it's hard to teach a new dog new tricks unless you go through a lot of pain. But like if you're a younger person listening to this, like you don't have to do all that. Like you can be intentional with your life, and it is going to require work, but like you got to know who you are, what you want. And I think that requires, reading books. It requires you being honest with yourself. Like it requires just life experience and time. I think having mentors and coaches is one of the most pivotal things that's changed my life for sure. Only listening to people that I want to be like, not just from a financial perspective, but like a holistic life perspective. That's changed my life. And so I just want to say, like, if y'all are struggling though, like it can be the best thing that's ever happened to you. And what I mean by that is, if you're walking through hell on earth, you're not going to be able to experience heaven on earth until you've done that, right? Like just like we have sunny days and then the sun goes away in the nighttime, like you need that perspective. You need the balance of both, like the yin and the yang. We need that. We need to see both sides so we can appreciate the good stuff, so we can appreciate the stuff that we don't like, right? And not to say that pain is bad and not having pain is good. I'm just saying like it just is what it is. But if you are going through hell and you can use that pain and you can use all the stuff that you don't like about your life and you can use that and take that energy and forge it into creating your life that you do want, you're going to look back and you're going to have this amazing perspective, and you're going to realize like, hey, like I do have a choice. Like no matter what's going on around me, like I can choose to enjoy my life. I can choose to be grateful. I can take this pain and suffering. I can make it something great. I don't know, this book behind me right here, it's called Man's Search for Meaning. If you guys haven't read it, I would highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite books, but it's about Viktor Frankl surviving the Holocaust, and he gets his whole life taken from him, his family, his work, everything is just gone, and he chooses to find meaning in life. He chooses to find joy. He ends up surviving the Holocaust. It's an amazing story, and I think we have this, after I read that book, it changed my life because I think we have this superpower within us that we undersell ourselves on, and that's the ability to choose. And again, this is not something that I was taught in school. This is not stuff that the president told me. This is not stuff that people around me really told me. If you have someone that is into this kind of stuff in your own life, like freaking latch on to that person and have them teach you everything they know, because that person is rare. And I say all this to say, like, Ed, my coach, always says, like, you were born to do something great with your life. And I truly believe that. And that's what I mentioned earlier about, like, my grandfather. And again, I skipped over a lot of stuff in my own life. Like I went and got my brain scanned when I was in college because we thought like I was really fucked up. like I played lacrosse in high school and had like a few concussions, and when I was growing up too. So like I had my brain scanned because I was depressed. Like I went to that extreme to like really figure it out, and like physically and structurally everything was fine. So like we were like, okay, like I'm pretty much good. So like I've done all this stuff. And I'm saying all this to say like no matter what you're going through right now, like you were born to do something great. But not everyone wins, and you have to make that choice to say, hey, like life's gonna throw shit at me, but I got to make a decision about what I'm gonna do with it, right? And not all of us make that decision, and you know it's tough out there. I get it. Like life is hard, but if you can be intentional with how you spend your time, who you surround yourself with, what you listen to, you don't just pick up your phone. You don't just randomly scroll social media. You be intentional about who you want to listen to. You be intentional about people who can lift you up, make your life better. All these little things, they'll compound over days, months, years, and you'll wake up one day and you'll have an amazing life. Like, I'm not saying this to brag either. Like, my life is freaking awesome right now. Like, I would never expect to, like, have sold the business and to feel good about myself as much as I do. Invest in cool companies and work with all these awesome people. And I'm very grateful for all that stuff. And I still want to keep pushing and still want to keep growing and still want to keep accomplishing goals and stuff because that's just how I live. But I say all this because I don't think it would have happened if none of that stuff happened for me in the past. And I don't wish that on anyone. That's why I'm making this video. But I turned what happened to me, and I probably wasted a bunch of time too. Like I can probably look back on my life and be like, dude, like you could have acted there, right? But I look back on that and I've turned it into something that I'm very grateful for because I know what it's like to really hurt. I know what it's like to really feel that pain. And it sucks. Like, I think life is like, what are we doing all this for, right? Like, if you're not enjoying the journey, one of my old coaches used to tell me all the time, like, remember to enjoy the journey. Remember to enjoy the journey every day. Because again, like, what are you working so hard for, man? Like, why are you working so hard if you're not enjoying it, if you're not having fun? Because then I can't tell you guys what happens after this life. I'm only experiencing what I know right now. And I only think you get one shot at this thing. So again, like I said earlier, so many of us grow old and we get good at the wrong thing, and that's just like the worst thing possible in my opinion. And so I think if you don't enjoy your life now, that's totally okay. Use this as a reminder to, hopefully change your life. If I can be a resource, reach out to me. I'm not selling any of this stuff. I made this channel because I just want to give back and help people. Like I'm literally investing all this time and money because the people that did that for me changed my life. And I don't know if the internet didn't exist and I didn't have like a Tony Robbins or an Ed or some of these guys speaking into me, I don't know what my life would look like, honestly. And every day I wake up, I'm just like so grateful for these dudes and these people and these women out there who are putting out this kind of work because it is life changing. And again, I think, especially in America, I'm just speaking for America, like the school system's not going to tell you this kind of stuff. The government's not going to help you with this stuff. Most people around you probably aren't. Even in my own life, I still find people to be into this stuff as much as I am to be very rare. And I get life is hard and things happen and people get busy, but no one's going to come save you at the end of the day. You got to put in the work, and it is work. Like, to know yourself and to work on yourself more than you do on your business, more than you do on your sports, anything else you got going on, like, that's going to be the best return you can ever make. Like, the best investment you can always make is yourself, and it's going to be messy at the beginning, and you're literally going to have to rewire your brain from a neurochemical, biochemical perspective. It's going to be hard, challenging, just like this. Like, we all live by patterns, right? So if you just cross your arms right now, like cross your arms right now. Now you cross your arms, just like do the opposite. Like it just feels weird. Like when I did that, it feels weird. This is easy for me. This feels like weird. And so we all have these patterns we live by, right? Like this is just my pattern of crossing my arms. But think about that in a life perspective. We all have these patterns we live by, which we're programmed by from growing up to the rest of our life. And if we're not consciously aware of these patterns, we just wake up one day and we're just like, this is my life. And so you physically have to break those patterns, and intentionally form them yourself. And that's just how we're wired. Your brain wants to move towards what it's most familiar with. It wants to be easy. You want things to be easy. So you've got to program yourself with what you want, why you want it, all this stuff. Be very specific about what you want. And again, all this stuff takes time. I've had to learn this from my coaches. Again, I didn't learn any of this stuff in school, but it's changed my life. Like I wake up every day right now and I'm just like, again, is every day fucking awesome? No, but like for the most part, pretty damn good. Like pretty much got everything I need. I don't really have to work, but I like to work. I get to do stuff I want to do. I get to be around people I want to be like. Again, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm still working on this. I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I do know for a fact that if you do work on yourself if you do that work, if you put in the time and the effort, like your life will be awesome. I guarantee it. I know for a fact, it's worked for me. It's worked for a lot of my peers. If you go read, the Tony Robbins of the world, they'll say the same thing, right? Like they did the work on themselves. They read the books. They found the mentors. They listen to the podcasts. They found the people that changed their life, right? Because you don't just wake up one day knowing this stuff. You need these people. I'm a big believer in mentors and finding people that can help you, if you've been looking at my channel lately. But there's so many tactics and things that you can do to make your life really, really great. Excuse me, no matter where you're trying to go. And again, you don't got to be the richest person out there, but I think at the end of your life, like if you're healthy, if you're financially independent, if you got good people around you, if you have a good relationship with yourself, if you're fulfilled at the end of the day, like you won, right? And a lot of things that I think a lot of us strive for, like just make us happy, and happiness is fleeting. Like, again, I can tell you from someone who's been there, done that, accomplished some things, it's cool for a month, it's cool for a few days, but it doesn't last. But like being fulfilled, that's what really matters, and that's living what you're made for, and that's a completely another topic. But you got to know yourself to be fulfilled. You got to do the work on yourself to find that out, and that's what I think we're all sort of searching for at the end of the day. Like we don't really work hard and do all this stuff because we think just that's the way it is. We do this because we want how it's going to make us feel. Like we don't want the car. We don't want the family. We want how the family and the car is going to make us feel. We want the house because we want how it's going to make us feel. And we all just are sort of searching for feelings at the end of the day. And I think that's the best thing you can do, is to enjoy the journey, to help other people around you enjoy the journey, to make the world a little bit of a better place. And that's just all I'm trying to do here. Again, none of this was about me, but like I was that guy. I was that guy who was very insecure again. I struggled with anxiety, depression, you name it. Luckily, I never got any meds or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not demonizing the meds, but I don't think they really work. And Ed always tells me you're most qualified to help the person you used to be. And so I believe that to be true as well. If like I'm going to go learn business, I want to learn from the business guy, right? Like I'm not going to go learn from the guy who's never done the business. He's qualified. He used to be who I want to be, right? And so if I struggled in my own life and now I don't, with insecurities and doubts and stuff, and not to say that stuff doesn't creep in every now and again, because it does, that's human. But for the most part, I went from not enjoying my life for the most part to really enjoying my life. And so that's just, again, the basis of this video. And yeah, if y'all got anything out of that, like I hope to see you I can't speak anymore. I hope to see you stick around. And I'm going to be making more videos about personal development, business. Those are my two passions. Those are just like what I love to talk about on a Saturday night, psychology, all that kind of stuff. So if you like this video, again, hopefully you got something out of it. Again, not trying to make this about me. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.